Hello viewers and welcome back to our channel. Now, autism is a global issue, but its manifestations can vary greatly from one region to another. And in this video, I want us to focus on the Middle East, and particularly in Lebanon. Autism takes on a unique form that is often overlooked in global discussions. But today I will be shedding light on the harsh realities of autism in Lebanon, as experienced by individuals from various backgrounds. From being told to stay out of the sun because of the color of their skin, to facing discrimination and mistreatment as African students in Lebanon. The stories we're about to hear are a testament to the pervasive nature of autism in this part of the world. What's even more striking is that some Arabs are perpetrating autism against their fellow Arabs, as well as against people of African descent. Now, this internalized autism is a result of centuries of colonialism, slavery, and cultural exchange that have shaped the way people perceive and interact with each other. So with that said, let's take a look at this video as we listen to different people share their experiences. I will be right back.
Some Arabs are more than white people, and yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how my aunt called me Shaghl al-Lail when I went to Lebanon. Let's talk about how they tell me to stay out of the sun because I'm already too dark. Let's talk about how I want my best friend to come with me to Lebanon, but I'd rather spare her a terrible experience. Let's talk about how if I fell in love with a black guy and married him, how hard that would be for me, how hard it would be for him, how many hurdles we would both have to jump through, how I really wouldn't want him around my extended family because I wouldn't feel comfortable and he wouldn't feel comfortable. It's really gross. Maybe we should start taking some accountability and stop denying it.
For example, my father told me, all black men will leave their wives, this man will leave you. My mother told me all black people have AIDS. Those things are not true, first of all. Well, my father did not approve of my marriage to my husband.
And why
my
not?
Father, because he's black.
Oh.
So there's a lot of them in the Arab like I said, the culture. Islam says no black man is better than an Arab man. No Arab man is better than a black man. But my father and my mother were adamant against, no, he's black. No, they didn't even give him a chance. They didn't meet him. They didn't, give him an opportunity. And that hurt. But when something is wrong, it's wrong. So you got to stand up against it.
I think folks don't realize just how much more the Middle East is, even compared to the West. So, for example, if Akash goes, the only difference between him and the migrant is his passport. And that's the only thing that gets him treated like a human being.
Why?
Because your people...
smarter than those...
Jesus, bro.
Hey, y'all want to be me? I can throw it right back. I don't have a single in this seat, but you know what it is.
Behave, Browns. Everybody calm down, okay? Now, you're saying the migrants are from India, so they're going to treat him like
Yeah. So they're from India, Pakistan, East Africa, Southern Asia. And so they'll use all these people to come down and work, but they treat them like garbage. You're relegated to certain neighborhoods. You can't get out. If you try to move anywhere else, they'll bar you from it. Damn. But if they find out his passport's from any of those countries, he get
really.
Yeah.
Now, and you're saying that this type of treatment exists all throughout the Middle East.
Oh yeah. So for example,
second class is.
So for example, even if you go to Lebanon, all right, I'm just taking an example. Lebanon, the Lebanese people.
When I'm speaking on the racial discrimination and insidious anti-blackness in Lebanon, that how black Africans are being treated like slaves and in Lebanon, I'm speaking to also other Middle Eastern countries and how they treat black Africans that go there to help them and serve their economy. Because we're not just there to leech, we're there to work. We are working as laborers, we're working in your homes as maids, some of us are working in your banks, some of us are working. And regardless of that, because of your superiority complex, you believe you're better than us. But I want to say something. It's not just Lebanon. It is in the Middle East. It's not just Lebanon, it's across the Middle East. This is a research that was done by the Arab Barometer, racial discrimination and anti-blackness in the Middle East and North Africa. So there's a reason why I am making this video, because it is insidious. It is so much ingrained into your system. But the funny thing is this. A lot of Middle Eastern countries and North African countries are so rude to black Africans, to blacks, especially black Africans. But the funny thing is these countries, especially in the Middle East, you guys come to Africa regardless. You come to black Africa regardless. You come to sub-Saharan African countries regardless to do business. You come there to live. But the funny thing is we, the black Africans, always treat you so well. Isn't it funny? We treat you so well in our countries and you treat us in your countries. Isn't that funny? But there's a reason why I am making this video. I want to show the black African home and abroad that this is the data. This is what people think of you, especially from the Middle East and North Africa. There is an insidious anti-blackness against the black African. You are a nuisance to them. They might use you, you might contribute to their economy, you might work, but you are still a slave in their eyes. But then I have another question. There's a large Lebanese community in West Africa. In Nigeria alone, I believe there's over 500,000 Lebanese in Nigeria. There's millions of Lebanese in West Africa. So my question to us black Africans from these countries that are in Africa, why are we treating the Lebanese nicely in Nigeria? Why are we treating the Middle Eastern man and woman so nicely in Nigeria, so nicely in West Africa when they treat us in their countries? Why? I want you to answer that question. And this is not just Middle East. Anti-blackness and discrimination against the black African is a global thing. And I'm going to be making videos on every single continent on this world so that you, a black African man, a black African woman, a black African can see for yourself and see that we are not liked anywhere. We're just barely tolerated. So the reason I'm making all these videos is so that the black African will see the importance of why we need to unite. Why we have to work together. Because I think sometimes when people talk about African unity, we have to unite, people think it's just a fancy word. We have no choice because we have no friends. To the Arab man, we are still nothing but a slave. To the white man, we are beneath his feet. To the Asian man, we are subhuman. I'm speaking in general and the perception of who we are. It does not mean you cannot have your friends. It just means you have to understand it in the grand scheme of things. This is how the world perceives us. We are perceived as lesser value and we're going to be treated as such. In Asia, in Europe, in Africa, in Latin America, even in Antarctica, I'm sure. In Australia as well. So this video is to inspire the black African home and abroad on why we have to work together and collaborate to build ourselves. Build yourself where you are, but also don't lose sight of spreading awareness and building fortitude in economy. Stop fighting within yourselves. We have enough enemies as it is.
Now, racial discrimination against black people is an allegation that no Lebanese wants to be associated with. In fact, the majority of Lebanese think that they're not artists and that there's no articism in Lebanon at all. However, the experiences of black people who have lived, visited, or studied in Lebanon say otherwise. Like over 90% of the 21 black African students testify in reports that they faced racial discrimination during their time in Lebanon. One of the main excuses Lebanese people give for denying to be artists is that Lebanon is a sectarian country and that Lebanese people only discriminate among themselves. Thus, black people should never feel bad for being discriminated against and instead should be grateful that they're not unalived like in other countries. Moreover, to many Lebanese, Lebanon is still recovering from the effects of the 1975 to 1990 civil war. So the Lebanese haven't totally reached a stage of trusting strangers, so choosing to discriminate against them instead is the least of all evils. Now, here are stories from black African students who have been studying and or graduated from the American University of Beirut in Lebanon. Now, their stories prove that racism against black people is prevalent in Lebanon. And as long as the Lebanese community continues to be in denial of its racist behaviors and systems, Lebanon will never become a place where people of all races will ever feel welcomed or accepted. Now, these stories were compiled in a survey that was administered to sub-Saharan students at AUB. In this survey, 91% of students reported experiencing some form of racial discrimination during their time in Lebanon, both on AUB campus and off campus, and 48% reported facing harassment or assault during their time in Lebanon. Now, according to this student said, I faced racial profiling and harassment by AUB protection officers and cleaners in many instances. I received patronizing tags and statements from some professors who think that because you come from Africa, you should not know anything. I was faced with aggressive demands from a G-tax driver while on a fully paid ride because he thinks black males have big D's. Attempting to stop the taxi in the middle of the bridge and taking lonely route and risking safety to try to touch me. I was randomly called names on the streets, sometimes by little children. Some children were spitting on me from their high-rise building with their parents watching and looking away despite my drawing their attention. Taxi drivers routinely stop in the middle of the trip and ask me to leave their vehicles when they find Lebanese passengers. That happens every day. It was only once that one of these passengers said, no, don't do that to him because he's black. All other times, the people just enter and start looking at you with so much pity. Now, this other student says, I remember during my first year at AUB, students would refuse to sit next to me in class. I would sit and the two chairs next to me were always empty. And this made me question whether I smelled or there was something else which was wrong with me. Now, this changed when I was doing academically well. And students started befriending me and sitting next to me. Also, students would refuse to work in groups with me, and this significantly affected my mental health and academics. Regarding harassment, I was once kissed by a taxi driver, and I was often asked by Lebanese men, how much? A question that Lebanese men ask black women when they want to know how much they should pay to sleep with them. It is a pity that Lebanese men think that all black women in Lebanon are prostitutes. Now, there are really a lot of testimonies from different students and different people, but these stories of these AUB students add to the tragic incidents of racism, H sides and S sides that hundreds of sub-Saharan African domestic workers face. Lebanon is home to 250,000 migrant domestic workers who mainly come from sub-Saharan Africa and Asian countries. Now, in addition to being excluded from the Lebanese labor law kafala system and working under barbarous conditions, these women frequently face racial discrimination, assaults, and harassments, ranging from physical, psychological, to S-show. In fact, Human Rights Watch reports that 1 to 2 migrant domestic workers get unalived every week as a result of H-side and S-side, prompted by their living and working conditions. Now, thus it's time that the Lebanese society admits that it has a deep-rooted racism problem against black people in general. If it seeks to move forward to end racism altogether, black people in Lebanon have not been in any way conspirators nor the cause of Lebanese social and political problems that is often reflected in socioeconomic and religious mistrust. It is hypocritical of Lebanon and Lebanese to forget that during the Civil War, many Lebanese sought haven in many African countries, lived and thrived among blacks, and continue to benefit in trade from the resources of our continent, sometimes sent in form of remittances back in Lebanon. Yet Lebanon has failed to abolish the kafala system, a sponsorship system that has perpetrated a form of modern slavery and erases the acknowledgement that domestic workers play in upholding the stability of many Lebanese families by raising the next generation. It is in these same families that children are socialized to practice racism on black maids as part of holding still the affluent Lebanese identity, while at the same time are shown that to achieve social elevation lies practicing with some forms palm-coloredness and consumerism. These later became the students, professors, security guards, cleaners, taxi drivers, and random people these black African students meet on the streets or certain spaces that manifest into the aforementioned cases as heard in the stories. I feel Lebanon and Lebanese need to do better. I don't know what you guys think, but share your thoughts or maybe your experience in Lebanon, your experience in the Middle East. Share your experience in the comment section and let's have a conversation there. Thank you for always watching and see you in our next video as we bring you another video.